Studio. All right, it looks like. Did it show up on your end yet?
Yeah, we're live.
Cool. Okay. So, yeah, for everyone in the chat, we're doing this thing now where we're going to kind of like go live just to kind of make sure everything's good, and then we'll do like the proper intro here in a little bit. But
Yeah.
so far, good to see everyone in the chat.
Yeah. You guys get a sneak peek into the green room, the stuff that like Adam and I are gossiping about before we start the stream.
Yeah, we already talked bad about everyone, so
Yeah.
no, but yeah, there's gonna be a lot to talk about today. It's gonna be a full show.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
Man, I'm
Wayne
so
shirt.
jealous.
Yeah, this is that Huff thing. In no offense to, I wouldn't really wear this out, but this is a good occasion.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, but yeah, I guess no one's complaining about the audio.
Always a good sign.
I'm gonna switch the screens real quick and see. Yeah, if anyone that's watching, any audio issues, let me know.
See, this makes me want to get like an Epion shirt. Like you've got the unicorn pin, I've got the
Oh
Sinanju.
yeah,
Like, we've got this good and evil thing going on.
I'm glad
I
that
want
you're
to
siding
embrace
with
it.
evil. I didn't have to like make you do it. It's
Well, they
just
make them look
natural.
so cool.
Yeah, I mean that is true. That is true. Okay, well, you know what? I think everything is good to go. So what I'm going to do is, everyone, I'm going to go to the starting soon, start the music, and then we'll start this in like a minute. So see you in a second. Hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to the Gundam Explained show live. It's December 1st, last month of the year. This is where I think the time when everyone watches their favorite Gundam Christmas movie, which is War in the Pocket. Because that is
Nicely done. I appreciate that.
No, that's cool. But anyway, guys, I'm your host, Adam Blue, and joining me as always is the ever evil Steven from Midnight Hatter. What's up, man?
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm a little I guess I needed to have a more menacing tone. But I do appreciate that we both have our Christmas get up going on, right? You've
Yeah.
got the tree in the background. I've got my little baby tree and some lights going on. I'm trying to, just get in the spirit, right?
Yeah, no, I like to do that. I remember last year, I even for Halloween last year, I bought these like orange lights, and then I just left them up for Thanksgiving, left them up for Christmas. But I do like the decorating. In fact, like I think it was that Thanksgiving week, my wife just went through and decorated the entire house with everything Christmas. So, hey, what you drinking?
Oh, a little bourbon and Coke.
Oh,
Yeah. As they say, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Well, it's 5 o'clock here. So
yeah, there you go. But speaking of bourbon, when I was in California and what's fun is Lyft or Uber conversations. You never
oh
know.
yeah.
And this guy, he's older, and I was saying how sometimes I can't really just drink all the time because I get sick really easily. And he's like, "Do bourbon, do bourbon." And I was like, "Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do
There
you
you go.
notice with bourbon maybe less of a hangover?" Or
I typically don't get hangovers in general, so I'm probably not the best source of information, but I mean, I've noticed that like my neighbor, he and his significant other get in fights whenever they drink gin, so they prefer dark liquors. I'm like,
no?
you know what? I'm gonna adhere to that. Clear liquors mean fight, and dark liquors are just good times.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
But yeah, I'm glad that you brought up like Lyft and Uber conversations. I've gotten into some fun conversations, especially when you ask, what they do outside of Lyft and Uber.
Yeah.
I had one woman that was driving my wife and I around, and it turns out she worked at one of the like porn shops in like one of the local porn shops in our
Wow.
town. Which, funny story, they actually have a rule at this particular shop
And you would know.
where all of the DVDs that they have, at least 50% of the DVDs have to be non-porno movies. So they have,
Interesting.
like, a ton of, like, Hallmark movies and stuff like that.
It's like the pre-show, just to kind of if you want the plot, here's the plot that I'm gonna use for later. I don't
So,
know.
naturally, I had to ask. I was like, "We're in the Uber." I said, "Hey, is that rule true?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're
Oh.
we're very strict about it."
Yeah, no, it was cool because one of the things that I thought was pretty awesome is this particular area where the Bandai Namco offices are, there is this mission, and that's like a church. When I was saying mission to some people, they didn't understand, and I can't say I really understand that either. But anyway, it's a church that was known to be one of the earliest missions in California, but there was also some, rumors or talks that really it's far older than that. And
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
all into that ancient history stuff. I bring it up
Yeah.
every once in a while. So I was like, you know what? Since I'm going to be 20 minutes from there, I'm going to make sure to check it out. And so as I was getting the lift down there, the guy's like, oh, what are you doing here for work? And I'm like, not really. And I'm like, but actually, I'm here for something else. I just wanted to see this mission because I heard it could be older than it really is. I'm going to check it out. And he's like, no, it is. I grew up here. I've been there since I was a kid. And what we always talk about is how this is really older than they say it is. And I was like,
See, you
wow.
never know. You just never know
Yeah.
when you're talking to someone that you might have, like, a kindred spirit thing going on
Yeah,
where
like it can like they know of something and they can provide more info because I think that kind of validated. And so while there weren't a lot of things that made me 100% believe that yes, this is way older than it's supposed to be, there were enough things that made me question the architecture style, especially when there was a lot of bigger stonework at the bottom than smaller bricks like filling up the top as if they were trying to repair it, but they repaired it with like lesser materials, if you see what I mean. So
yeah,
yeah, I might cover that on my dissection channel, but we're gonna jump
pretty
into
cool.
some good Gundam stuff today. First shout out to the chat. We got Nike, Robert, McDio, which we should check out the stream from Wednesday.
Yeah, that was a
Uh,
lot of fun.
yep, that was
Yeah.
good. On link below for Hatter's channel.
It's always a blast when we have Zeke New York guys join us for a chat. I mean, just fun people. Every single one of them has different strengths when it comes to Gunpla building, and then
Yeah.
they all have different, like, philosophies when it comes to building. But, yeah, if anybody really embodies that, like, Gunpla is freedom movement, that's Zeke New York.
Yeah, and you know what? And two, the other thing I got from it too, it's like a group of like wise men in a way. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like they have this knowledge and this wisdom, and it's pretty cool, I gotta say. But Talos, good to see you. Zionic Shadow, of course. Thanks, yeah, Zionic Shadow for the Epion and the anime New York stuff. That was awesome. Um, and I'm always getting off topic when I talk, but I am going to Anime Frontier December 8th through 11th. They're going to have the Gundam base pop up there. It's in Fort Worth. So if anyone
Sweet.
that's watching or listening will happen to be there, feel free to hit me up there. There was a point I was going to make about that. I think that was really the point is because
Just
yeah, it
on the
reminded me
subject of anime festivals.
yeah, because there's all this stuff going on. I'm gonna wear that Anime NYC shirt there that Zionic sent over, because I would have loved to gone to that, but at least I get to go to this, which is pretty cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's see. Austin Mangus, good to see you. Johnny Tacoma, first Gundam Explained podcast since baby was born. Well, you know what? Podcasts are
Congratulations.
good pastimes with babies, so hopefully this can give you something to escape
We'll speak
into.
quietly
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah.
as
I'll
not
try
to
to be quiet. Can't guarantee that. But no. Rogue New Type. Good to see you, Jamkill X. Neon Wave. Ultronomous. Man, we've got the team here. Jigen fan. Oh, a Jigen fan. That's a good one.
there you
Um,
go. No
well,
Jetta
cool.
fan, though.
What's that?
No Jetta fan? The
Oh, that's right. I was even thinking about that yesterday. What's the other J mobile suit? And
Jays and
I got to do a video on that.
Jestas.
But no, Clint Garcia. Good to see you. But So what we're mainly going to talk about today is a lot of things, and it was my trip to Bandai Namco. They invited me along with four others, And the purpose of it was to kind of, meet the team members from Japan, help give feedback. They asked us a lot of questions. And yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that. Um, what I wanted to do first, actually, the other thing, this Saturday, 5 p.m. Central, in the Gundam Explained Discord, is going to be a build and chill. There's a voice channel there. And you know what? I, yeah, show up around 5, but feel free to be early. And then it could go on for the rest of the night. I just want it to be like, if you're
It goes
building on
till question
Saturday,
marks.
yeah, if you're building on Saturday and you're like, you want to do it with some people, I like want that to be a space. Just jump in. There's someone to build with. I thought that
I
would be
love
pretty
it.
cool because I have so much Gunpla I got to get onto. It's almost like I marked my calendar. Okay, I need to work on Gunpla. Why don't I do it with my friends? And I'm gonna work on the one that Goose got me, Gune's Yak
Yeah,
Doga.
Doga.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, because it's been a while since I got to a master grade. I think the Zeta was the last one. So yeah, guys, so check out the events in Discord. Oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to show off. A friend of mine who's like a brother-in-law, but my sister divorced him, so he's kind of not. But maybe that's TMI for now. But he got me this, and then if you press a button, and I think the light is kind of diluting actually because it's a full color picture. Yeah, the light. Oh, actually, if I change, let's see, it's no, it's not really doing it.
I mean, I can see the line art and it looks pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah, and what's cool about it is you can't really tell, but it's like full color. But yeah, I noticed on the camera you can't see. He got me this and Ariel. What's
That
with
is
all
awesome.
this non-UC stuff lately, right? But I think that's
Yeah.
just the natural course of evolution with Gundam. Is
Well,
it's
then consider me weighed down by gravity because that is not the No, you know what? I think that all that's gonna turn around when Requiem hits, right? Like, it's gonna reinvigorate all of us, UC fanboys.
oh yeah. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for that. Okay, so here's what I wanted to jump into. When I was down there, those 4 other influencers, and basically what Bandai Namco does is they'll find people online that they can tell they love Gundam and talk about it online, but they're also not toxic. And they will like ping them, be like, "Hey, how about you help us with some stuff? We'll give you some things." And
Very cool.
now I've talked to them in chat before, but I got to meet them in person. It was fantastic. I have all the links for these influencers in the description. And after the show, guys, or while you're watching, I think you can middle mouse click and it opens a new window, right? And then you
There you
can
go.
so you can
Yeah.
still be here. No, but make sure to follow and subscribe. So, first of all, we've got flail throughs. I think most people are familiar with flail throughs.
Yeah,
Rob,
Rob?
yeah, from one way or another. I know for me it was when I was playing SDG Generation Genesis for the first time, and I would be stuck on how to get those like special missions done. Like, because sometimes it's like specific moves you got to do to get it. His
Yeah.
videos would cover that. And like so it was great, especially he had a mask on because he was just being careful, and so and I don't know what he looks like, but as soon as he spoke, I was like, "Oh, it's Rob," and I was almost
I
starstruck.
know those buttery tones.
Yeah, yeah, I was starstruck for a bit too. Like, I was like, "Oh man, I can't." Like all the times I've heard you talk. And, no, it was cool. So he's got his YouTube here. Another individual that was really cool, Rose Waltz. Didn't really know much of them. I had seen their content before. They primarily stream on Twitch, but they have a YouTube. Um, really knowledgeable in Gundam stuff and video games. Like, I think, Steven, to the degree we are, because they
Ooh.
were talking about like the fighting game mechanics. And when we were talking to Bandai and we were talking about what we like out of video games, they were talking about like eh, me- mechanics are important, like depth to,
Yes.
and so they're really into fighting games and stuff. So I was like, okay, this person, yeah, we'll have to have them on sometime. All of these influencers we'll have to have on sometime.
Now, I'm
So,
gonna stop you right there just to say shout out to Austin Mangus for upgrading membership to
oh,
the Ace Pilot level. Thank you so much.
yeah,
Appreciate that.
nice, awesome.
Sorry, I just didn't want that to fly under the
No,
radar while we were going through some of
you
these influencers
you
because
are perfectly correct in doing that. Thank you. That's awesome. I appreciate that. But yeah, Rose Waltz, linked in the description. Yebba Debba. Yebba Debba, yeah, Linktree stuff here. I think primarily on Twitch, but also does YouTube. Is She's been doing Mass Effect stuff. I would. She's almost more like comedian like. She does a lot of skits that are pretty hilarious, and they're usually based on things in Gundam that you would know about. And she plays games too, and super funny. Links in the description to follow her stuff. Yeah, TikTok also. She does a lot on TikTok, but hilarious. Like I thought she was like a comedian pretty much. And then Zant, another like deep cut gamer, like knows understands like the Japanese gaming scene and like those more obscure Japanese games usually people don't play or talk about, but he covers that. And yeah, he has a lot of cool stuff. I think he's been part of this program Bandai longer than anyone else, so he's been working with them
I
for a
mean, it
while.
seems like a lot of these influencers, the crossover, the Venn diagram, if you will, between Gundam and gaming,
Yeah.
it's pretty tight.
Yeah, no, and I think that was done deliberately too by Bandai Namco Entertainment America. It's like they know that there are certain things that helps people get into Gundam. It's
Mhm.
not only Gunpla, but the video games, and
Well, and like, there's not a lot of work to do on the Gunpla front because obviously Gunpla sell like hotcakes regardless, right? So, from a marketing perspective, the real, I guess, struggle to get a foothold in the American market is in gaming. And
yeah.
and so it really makes sense where, you can really kind of judge exactly where their heads are at when it comes to who they are bringing in and what kind of perspectives they want to try and foster. So it's very cool.
So I'm glad you brought that up because that segues into what I got out of this trip going down there. And I would say it was while the main thing is like, how can we help Bandai understand like how to really propel Gundam in the West? Um, there was a lot of it was about the gaming too. And they asked us a lot about the games, and I'll get to that here in a second. So when I first showed up and I showed some of the pictures, I think on the Instagram and TikTok, we were in the lobby. We were able to like take those pictures, but then after that, no cameras. So I thought I was going to be able to like take all this video and all that, but
Nah.
and that's okay. It's but what was awesome walking through the offices, seeing the people's desks, like they were just full of Gundam merchandise. It's like there's no room for a monitor on this desk. Like it's pretty much they have like the Neo Zeong is like in front of their monitor as they're working.
Sounds like my desk. I'm like,
No, yeah, I know what you mean. And so it was just cool to see that like the people working there. And again, I want to reiterate, like this is the America division in America, they're in America, but I'm sure they want to do all the stuff Japan is doing. They want to be able to
oh yeah.
bring out all the stuff that Japan is and have a say in that stuff. So it was really cool to see how dedicated those people were. And so then we were then talking to the team there and the team in Japan. We had like a meeting that went for a while. It was a awesome conversation because they asked really nuanced questions about Gundam in terms of like, okay, as you guys are influencers, based on your community, your trigger word, what are how does your audience react to this or that, in the Gundam universe? Like, what are some favorite shows and what are your favorite shows? What are your favorite games? What are some favorite games? And you could tell they were really, it was like they're really serious about really understanding what that Western Gundam fan is looking for and what they want. Um, and it was really fun to be able to tell them, like, from my experience, like the games I'm playing, what I love about some of the games, what I wish was in some of the games. So we were able to be honest about, some of the things.
That's very
Um,
cool.
and
Now, would you say that there was and, I don't want there to be, like, any kind of don't name names or anything like that, but what kind of consensus did you and the other influencers arrive at? Or was the kind of perspective a lot broader than that? Did it seem like the average American fan of Gundam is all kind of a monolith, or was it kind of all over the place?
that's a really good question. And I think what this meeting did is really give me an idea of like where America or the Western audience is at with Gundam. And even they even brought it up, like relevance. So, for example, and I was even able to use examples when I was there when I would be in a Lyft or Uber, and the guy's like, "What are you here for?" And it's like, "Oh, I got invited down to this office. I have this YouTube channel about something." They're like, "Oh, what is it about?" And I'm like, "Here you go." And it's like Gundam, and they're like, "Oh, what's that?" And it's like, "Yeah, what can I say?" It's like I want to say a Japanese anime, but that doesn't help. In fact, it might hurt when you're speaking to Americans, especially maybe older, and it's like, well, if I don't want to say, so what I started saying was, oh, it's like it's from Japan. Yeah, it's an anime, but it's like a more mature Star Wars. That's
Always a good descriptor.
yeah, that's what but I think that's what they were trying to get down to and trying to figure out what is the move
Yeah.
to make, yeah, Gundam like that easy, like to center it, ground it when someone's like, oh, what's Gundam? Oh, it's this. And to me, I think the main thing is if I think of popular IPs in the world, it's like it's like having a live action movie. I mean, you look at Star Wars, Marvel, like those big Harry Potter, all these big things, Lord of the Rings, they all have these
Yeah.
movies, and a lot of people just know the movies. Yeah,
And a lot of it, it's like, but it has to be done well, right? Because
yeah.
Gundam does have a live action movie. Um, I mean,
It's like in my mind, I don't count it as a live action movie, but it is.
like, and you're one of the biggest,
Supporters
fans
of it.
of G Savior.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that we kind of forget about it. And so, to relate it to kind of American IPs, you think about like the Fantastic Four. There was that Fantastic Four movie that was going to come out in the 90s, the early 90s, that
Oh,
got shelved.
Cronenberg, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the one. And so, what really put Fantastic Four on the map was, like, the first really terrible movie
Oh,
that
yeah.
got released,
Yeah.
right? So, the one with Jessica Alba and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes it's not just having the live action because, we've had properties do that type of thing, but it really takes somebody who is passionate about the IP and can really make it stick. People don't think about like the old Hobbit cartoons as much as they think about the Peter Jackson movies.
Yeah.
So it's
So
like,
yeah, so what you're saying is like
execution is important.
yeah, it can't just be, let me skip this ad. It's saying something about an ad running. Um, so yeah, what I think you're saying is it really just can't be any live action Gundam movie. It's like they really have to hit the mark with this because then I can be in public and someone be like, "Oh, what's your channel on?" It's like, "Oh, you know that Gundam movie that came out on Netflix?" Like, "Oh
Boom.
yeah." I'd be like, "Yeah, I actually cover it started back in 1979 in Japan. I cover the history and lore and all that." Like, I want to be able to do that one day, you know.
I mean, it's so funny because like, I was on that marketing show with Omnisend, like the email platform that I
Oh yeah.
use.
Yeah.
And, they said, "Hey, well, we understand you have a podcast." And I was like, "Yeah, my partner and I talk about Gundam." And they were like, "Oh my gosh, like that's hilarious. So that's what those are behind you." And like,
Ah,
they knew what I was talking about, and they were like, "Well, it's like I haven't watched Gundam since the 90s and like Gundam Wing and all that kind of stuff." And I was like, "We cover more Universal Century, but it's like a yeah,
yeah.
shared franchise type deal."
Because that's something I think that Bandai's trying to figure out here. Like for the F1 thing, that was Bandai America trying to figure out what is some way to make Gundam appear somewhere, and what they did was, a lot of the marketing featured the RX-78 and the aerial because the idea is like, well, here's the OG, but then like here's the show that's on right now that's popular,
Right.
And I think that's another thing that's kind of hard too, because like if someone wants to get into Star Wars, you'd say go watch the original Star Wars, you know.
Yeah.
And I wonder if today you could be like, well, it looks kind of old, so I mean, you'll like Empire Strikes Back. I mean, I don't know, you know.
Right, yeah, it's I don't think that anyone says when it comes to, like well, and it's so hard because how many people aren't familiar with Star Wars, but nobody says, like, "Well, you should probably start with Andor," because Andor is like this encapsulated story, there's no buy-in with, like, the Jedi and stuff.
Yeah,
Like, Andor is like the 0080 of Star
dude,
Wars.
that is an excellent comparison.
Um,
Yeah. Not
but
only are they very similar, but yeah, that's I not that I come across that, but if someone's like, I haven't watched Star Wars, where should I start? It's like, well, check out that Andor show, because that is like a really just well-made story
yeah.
just on its own. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
And maybe that's what more of Star Wars needs is maybe more like, not to change subjects, but like tangentially, maybe Star Wars needs more of those like not connected to Darth Vader, not connected to the Skywalkers, like just more stuff that's
Well,
out
yeah,
there.
you know what? I think you're making sense because that's literally what Gundam did. Because yeah, they had
Yeah,
the original Zeta,
0083,
Double Zeta, Char, and then yeah, Stardust Memory, 08 MS
HMS
Team,
team. Yeah.
F9, and then they just kept, and then they eventually came back with like Hathaway, Unicorn, Hathaway. So yes, that is a really good point, Steven. Man, you're knocking it out today. Yeah, Star Wars needs.
I got my thought juice in
Yeah,
me.
there you go. Yeah, definitely, Star Wars would succeed. So then, okay, if we're able to identify the things that Star Wars is doing right, or I should say, no, that Gundam is doing right for their legacy, what could they do right to have that visibility? And they were even saying how Gundam is the 13th most popular IP in the world, which that's high up there.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to, tally all of the franchises out there, and that's pretty damn impressive.
In wasn't it too that merchandise is what made Star Wars popular? Although I don't know how often when I am talking to people about Star Wars, it's about the toys. Even though secretly I think people do get the merch, it's just that they
Yeah.
want to talk about the world. And I think even though for Gundam it's the Gunpla, the merchandise that sells, I think they haven't fully committed into how do you ground and market the world in the West? Because then there's Wing, that's a different world.
Yeah.
Then there's Seed, that's a different world. And so now there's that confusion.
Yeah, and I think that there might be a little bit of, like, that, I guess it's diluting the brand a little bit because ultimately there's no, like, AU Star Wars stuff, right? Like, there's
Yep.
no Star Wars that doesn't have Jedi and, like, has, you know,
Yeah, like a whole
space
made up
wizards.
thing. Like
Yeah,
what
yeah,
would
like a
be the
whole
thing? Yeah.
so I think that by creating so many AUs, Gundam has kind of dug a hole for itself a little bit in a way because instead of doing more UC side stories and UC, expanded universe type stuff, they've just gone off the rails and
Yeah.
done entirely new universes, which makes it very hard to take somebody who, say, got into the series because of IBO and say, hey, by the way, there's 40 years of backstory that has nothing to do with this that you like, but so
Yeah.
that's not to say that it's impossible because,
No, they just have to find out what that is. And it's going to be some sort of collaboration of some sort in the West to kind of have people, have a center on something.
yeah.
Fulcrum is saying merchandise for Star, I'm assuming Wars didn't really take off until the build up to ESB and peak during release of ROTJ. But from what I understand, when Star Wars came out, people wanted the figures so bad they had to buy something they wouldn't get until later. Remember, it was like I
Yeah.
wasn't alive for it, but there was the figure set, and so yeah, it was when the Star Wars movie came out. That's why George Lucas said, "I want merchandising rights," because
Yeah, exactly. It's just
you
like,
know,
Spaceballs. Merchandising.
yeah,
Well, and it's very interesting because if you think about it, that inspired things like Rambo and RoboCop and, like, these really adult
oh
movies. It's like, you would
Alien
never let a 9-year-old watch RoboCop unless you're me, but, like
and me, I did that the other day. He was 10, but
but how many RoboCop action figures did they have? How many Rambo action figures did they have? Totally inappropriate for kids, yet here they are marketing the thing to kids, and it goes back to that idea, and I always credit Bob Budiansky with this, is the Transformers marketing scheme. Is nobody cared about the Transformers toys until you had the show, because the show taught you how to play with the toys,
yeah.
because, if you no one cares about a transforming car that turns into a robot until you say, "Well, that car is an Autobot, and it fights against Decepticons for freedom," and all, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, in the same way, toys are not just, like, merchandise, like, they are, like, the vehicle that drives the content, that drives the merchandise. It's like a
It's like a circle too, because you need that world. Even if you can use your imagination with the merchandise, you need the world to help support that. And that's a really good point because I think that further supports the idea of doubling down on like a build universe because the build universe could be here's the merchandise based off of all of these different which well think about that. What if there was a build maybe this is what the live action movie is, a build universe where it's not like custom Gunpla, it's like someone with their RX-78 too, someone with their death sight. Like it's
yeah,
actually I mean that might be the best way to do it if oh my god, this is a live action movie that is billed, but it's
good stuff.
yeah, no, but it's with the actual model kit. So then when the movie comes out, you could say, "Oh, did you see that Gundam movie or on Netflix?" Yeah, the guy with the white the V fin, the real popular one. That's the original, and you
That's the OG.
or when he saw the crazy death scythe with the scythe, that's from this one called Wing, separate universe, and
And
yeah.
it's similar to something like Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Because Yu-Gi-Oh is a card game, and the TV show is about people playing the card game, and so it's like,
Oh, I never saw that. That's actually pretty neat. So it's not like monsters or in it?
no, I mean,
Oh,
the fantasy world that happens within the card game, like, it's just kind of part of the story behind the card game in the show. So it's like, I
oh,
mean,
that's interesting.
to me, that's what the build series are, right? Because that's you're taking the model kits from real life and then putting a story around them in universe.
Yeah. No, that's actually pretty interesting. So I'd say that I'm glad we had this talk because it really makes me believe if they're gonna do a Gundam live action movie, even though I'd want an OG, it would be combining all the universes, but not making up custom Gundams like or mobile suits, actually using all the popular ones.
Yeah, use
And
what's there, because and maybe that's the kind of the failure of the build series in general, is by creating all these customs and creating this, like, culture around the Gunpla customization thing. People usually don't, if you're not in that world, you're not one of those people that paints and customizes their Gunpla, then you really don't have anything to latch on to. But
yeah, no, I like
I
that.
think
That was a really
you've
good.
got a good idea there.
Well, I think that was both of us. Uh, just in case it fails, I can say it wasn't all me.
There we
No.
go. See, just like the merchandise and content, you and I are just bouncing off of each other.
Yeah.
Uh, but no, this is awesome stuff. I mean, I'm glad that these are the kind of conversations that are happening at such a high level, and
Yes.
that they're involving people like yourself that have this kind of, you know,
Passion. I
yeah,
have a passion for this stuff, and I even consider myself a creative. I even when I was there, I said, if you guys need help on the live action movie, I will help. Not that that's gonna get. I might as well try. Um, and it was cool
shoot your shot.
because uh, Japan was there too. There was someone actively translating. I mean, think about that. Like they're taking it that seriously to hear what people that spend their time making Gundam content. It's not just some random person that likes Gundam. It's someone that is actually actively making content because then they know that to a degree they're taking it seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. Uh, Giant Tacoma GBO2 on Xbox One. You know what? That's a missed opportunity. But I think that just has to do with the legacy of Japanese developed games always on Sony, and then even the
Yeah.
port to PC was pretty tough. But I'm
Which
right there with you.
I mean, honestly, that is a big missed opportunity because, like, I can imagine, Call of Duty is only big. I mean, I don't wanna say it's only big, but it's big because of Xbox.
It is,
Like,
you're right. During that era, it's
I
that
it's
type
like
of game. Yeah, the Xbox, PlayStation is more popular than Xbox, but Xbox seems to attract the people that like are like
I
getting
want,
into
like,
like
online
first person.
shooter
Yeah,
that's multiplayer,
yeah,
I want team-based, like, squad action,
yeah.
whereas, yeah, people playing on PlayStation, they want, like, story-driven and
RPGs.
RPGs,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So it's, it is, like, a huge missed opportunity on that
yeah.
side of the market, but what are you gonna do? There's a lot more variables to
And I
that.
don't want to discount though that they like made an Xbox only online Gundam game called Operation Troy. That I tried playing it on an emulator and it doesn't work out too well, but it's pretty neat that they at least tried it. And that's when you started off on foot with,
Yeah.
with that's pretty neat. So okay, so okay, what were some other things that they were talking about? So another thing too is they are looking for detailed feedback for future games. So that's another good thing. They were really asking some deep questions about what they would do for future games, and I think that was really awesome. I mean, it makes me really excited for what could be coming.
I was gonna say they could not ask a better person than you because
Hmm. I'm glad. Yeah,
because like, a lot of people play video games, and I think that you know, I would even say that there's probably different perspectives on games between casual gamers and, like, hardcore gamers, and I think that a lot of Gundam influencers are hardcore
yeah,
gamers.
that's
But
right.
then I think that there's that third step of, like, game developers and people that have that perspective from behind the scenes that can say, because anyone can say, like, "Well, I wish that this game was a first person shooter and had this, this, and this," and it's like, but you don't really know what those types of terms mean for developers, and I think that you are one of those influencers that gets it from.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, before making Gundam content, I was always making video game content. So to be in a position where a company that makes video games is asking me feedback for stuff, like I was so proud. Like that.
You're like, "Subscribe to Blue Gamer."
Yeah, yeah. And I brought
Make
that up.
Sniper Elite 5, but with Gundams.
Well, it's funny because they even had us do introductions to Japan, and I brought that up. I brought up how really my main hobby was, really started me with content creation is video gaming.
That's
So there's
awesome.
that crossover there, and yeah, hope to be taken seriously. But then again, we were, and that's what I think is amazing. They were asking us. We were there for hours. They were asking us deep questions. So
That's so
they
cool.
really care. Again, this is both Bandai Namco America setting this up and the Japanese division wanting that feedback. So, I mean, all positives. Let me show some stuff real quick that I got
Some
over
swag.
there. I got funny because I'm wearing the shirt. I think it's like right. Is it? It's a variant at least. I
Well,
don't
that's like the Wing Zero and then the, Wing Zero, or, well, Wing Gundam, Wing Zero, I don't know.
I think people. I will learn it one day. People. There's wings anyway. And then this one's cool. It was the Japanese only limited edition um, one. So that will be a build pretty soon, and
That's awesome.
they'll probably be after the Epion that um, Zionic Shadow sent over. I can't wait for that. And then it's pretty cool. They got us just a couple things from the Gundam factory. So like this is a sticker, that um,
Sticks
yeah,
to
clear
things.
sticker. I don't know where I would put it, but
Looks like something you'd put on a car.
ah, oh, let's see what the wife says. And then this, it's like a little stand. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, it was pretty neat. Like, nothing crazy. Actually, I do think this is crazy to give us like a limited Gunpla. So full
Yeah,
video on that for sure. That'll be
definitely.
coming up. Um, okay, so then something else I want to show real quick, and I'm actually gonna drop the link in the chat. So they had us make a video that is because there's this Gundam fan festival. Oh wait, Zionic Shadow just gave me an idea. In just a second, I'm gonna open this. Okay, this kit, but I like this effect when you go over the video. That's just the design person in me. Oh,
I
I
can
didn't share my
appreciate it.
screen with you, did I? Let me do
No,
that.
but that's okay because I am over here.
Well, hold on. Let me do it real quick because there we go. Okay. Yeah, so there's this Gundam e-festival going on right now, which is pretty cool because they have like Turn A and stuff that you can watch. They have all the build stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty
Uh,
awesome.
but even though that was me, I clicked on, there's other influencers like Gunpla Sisters. You guys might be familiar with Yeba Deba, who I talked about a second ago, Kakarot,
Couple
of
of
course.
moderately known names. I don't know any of them.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of cool people
Got
on here.
Kakarot in there.
Yep. Red Wolf Vion, who I did an interview on his channel previously, which was pretty cool. So, yeah, Rose Waltz is on there also. Yes, so check that out too. It's just to hear from other influencers to see what they have to say about Gundam and all that.
How many takes did your video take?
Just one, because dude, nowadays,
It's
because
just
I'm making videos all the time. I have this process where I'm just like, and I already talk a lot anyway, so it's easy to make content. I just have to press record. But actually, yeah, let me open that real quick just to kind of show because I haven't really taken a
what's in the box.
so. And then like there's a head, and I'm like, wait a minute, this
Man, I
um
think they gave me the wrong kit.
was supposed to build a person, but no. And then yeah, there's some. It looks like it's primarily blue, and I guess I could have looked up what this looked like, but let me see if there's a completed version in here. Hard to see without the color, so it almost looks like a thinner GPO2, I guess. Oh no, it has some cannons on its back. That actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that out of Double O?
Yeah, that's right. It has some double O looks to it, but this is supposed to be a whole new exclusive Gundam to the game. It's called like the
The Extreme Gundam, according to Zionic Shadow.
oh, thank you. Yeah, that's right. Extreme Gundam in Eclipse F parts.
Very
It was
sweet.
10th anniversary. So yeah, I'll try to build that soon.
And that's another thing that, like, for instance, the Extreme versus series is one of the more popular video game adaptations of Gundam in Japan, but
Yeah.
they just well, A, they don't port the latest games over to the West, and B, they just don't really land the same way. So
Yeah, that's interesting because we talked about that a little bit, and it seems like the arcade scene. Oh, and by the way, I'm gonna change. No, I'm gonna divert and
pivot?
nest a story in this. Have you watched High Score Girl, the anime on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
Watch it and get back to me. Everyone watch it if you haven't watched it. I
High Score
cried.
Girl.
I
Okay.
cried so much, but it's a character story, but it's wrapped in the Japanese arcade fighting game scene. So it starts in 91 and it follows the games that came out. And it's so similar to when I would be reading the magazines that come out. I'm like, oh, this new game's out in Japan in the arcades. Whoa. But anyway, this show showed it. But so that's the thing in Japan, arcades still have this sort of I guess love that is not anywhere in America really, but and so that newest extreme game just makes a lot of money by just being in the it makes more money than if they were to sell copies of it
Yeah.
on a console. The other thing too is I think that those games are just good games. It just happens to have the Gundam skin, and I think we've talked about that on here
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. And we've talked to New Type Seiji, who's like one of the biggest advocates for the
Yeah.
Versus series on, online in general. And like there really isn't anything like it with other IPs. So it's amazing to me that like that is a game format that Gundam has really nailed down as like their own.
Yeah, yeah, it's like you're right, and I think even if they don't seem to be releasing it here, I feel like they should anyway. They should just make it where it's just published in America,
Yeah,
on console, but it's still in arcades in Japan. Just because, you know, I think there's a reason it's popular in Japan because it's good. Even if it's not my thing, there's a large amount of people into games, especially competitive games, that really like that style.
yeah,
You know what? And actually, it was just not too long ago. Talos and I were talking, and then we streamed and we did some co-op in versus the regular one, and it
yeah,
kind of reminded me. This is actually fun, especially with another person. And
definitely.
I might get back into playing it a bit more since there's a little lull with the Gundam games for now. Um, but I have high hopes for
He
next year.
said cryptically.
No, but no, it's so you know, at the end of the day, like I'm so blessed that these things have escalated with my channel like they've had, where they reached out to me to be a champion, then they invite me, and I'm able to give constructive and thought out feedback that I think about personally a lot on my own. On your channel, all the time, we dive deep into like marketing and gaming mechanics and things of that nature. And I feel like it was like I was finally able to like tunnel that or funnel that into the proper channels.
And that's thanks in no small part, obviously, to the people watching now. Is like, you know,
Exactly. Exactly.
basically, you guys supporting Adam and you guys, kind of giving that feedback and creating this community. But just the idea of like sharing these ideas, sharing these thoughts, and um, you know, g- like you said, going deep with it. That's the fact that you're able to give that back and say like, here's what I've learned being in it. Like,
Yeah, and I think from there, like it also gave me a better idea of like as I'm making Gundam content, how can I continue to try to tap into communicating to those that don't know about Gundam or want to get into Gundam, So it's like that really helped me to really understand by them asking me the questions they did. It's like that helps frame the type of content that I would make. And it gave me an idea because for a while, I'm gonna skip this ad too.
I
For
was
a
gonna say that
while,
that's that circular relationship too, where it's like you're giving them your feedback, and with their blessing, you get more content to
yeah,
it's
yeah, no, it works out. And I was even thinking I might try to start doing, and I'm putting it out there just so then people can ask me about it. Like every once in a while, a video essay where I'm diving into like a specific thing to maybe help people understand a certain part. So and it could be an hour long or something. So we'll see if I get to that. But no, anyway, that was a lot of fun. So happy, and just to add some other things too while I was down there. I'm not really in California often, but one thing I'll say, uh, the weather is so nice. It would be in the 40s or it'd be in the 80s. But in Texas, when it's the 40s, it's miserable. When it's the 80s, it's like melting me. But like in California, there's something about the air that like
yeah,
it's pleasant. But what's the weather like where you're at?
mostly rainy.
It is it?
It's we are on the coast, but man, there's something
Oh,
about the West Coast that's a little bit different than the East Coast. The East Coast, you know, we get the we get the colder and the saltier air, I guess, and over in
hmm.
California, they get the nicer, prettier stuff. So
It must be what it is, because like, and then one time I was even looking at prices of housing down in that area, and I was like, yeah, no,
no thanks.
it's not gonna
I'm
happen.
yeah,
It is incredible, like what I saw. Like if you, I guess depending on what you're used to or where you live, if you were to look at real estate in California, it's like that's impossible.
yeah, it's
It
wild.
would it would be multiple families would go in on they would have to. Uh,
Right.
I Yeah,
But
it's
you know
crazy.
what? Hey, air conditioning is cheaper than a bigger house to be comfortable outside, it's
Oh, there you go.
there it
Yeah,
is.
and yeah, some other things, Yeah, I liked that in California, things were legal, so that was cool too. Um,
Always nice.
the one thing that was tough though was the time difference, 'cause
Oh,
I
yeah.
I had a fun night the night before we met at Bandai, influencers, we all went to Yard House, which is this really cool restaurant. And the cool surprise of that, if you guys are ready for this, our mod and one of the first supporters, Ian, met up with me. So he was able to hang out with
Hey.
us. Yeah, and we were having a good time, just talking. Like my throat's still surviving from that. I was so excited and talking, and I was even apologizing. Guys, just tell me when to be quiet. Um, because it was so fun talking. And then yeah, when we were done at like 11, um, I it's really like 1 a.m. for me, and it's been so long since I've been up that late, especially because like I'm normally getting up early to, take the kids to school. So I usually get to bed, you know, early enough. So I was tired. That's why I didn't do a show yesterday, because honestly, I got back from the airport, and while I felt great, I wouldn't be able to think. I was like, oh
No,
man,
no.
yeah.
So, how long was the meeting total? Because so you flew in what, Monday?
Yeah, no, I flew in Tuesday, and Tuesday was
Tuesday.
more of just a chill day. So that was where
Yeah.
I went to the mission, hung out with Ian and the influencers at night. The next day was Wednesday was the meeting, and that was more than 5 hours, a little more than 5 hours because we got out a little later. So yeah, it was about 5 hours there. So yeah, there was a lot of time to talk, and then we had a dinner with the Bandai people later, which was nice. And then between that, I also met up with another supporter, Tom, Uncle Tom. If you guys have seen him in the chat, him
Hey,
and
yeah.
Ian came back and hung out, and so we hung out for a little bit, and it was so awesome because one of our G Watch episodes that we did was based on robot spirits because Ian collects those, Tom collects
Tom
those,
collects 'em,
and
yeah.
Tom brought like kind of the holy grail robot spirits that I've been wanting to get. They're expensive. So the cost signature, he brought the S Gundam, uh, the um, the DJ. What was the other ones? It was the Mark V, I believe. And it was just cool to see them in hand because these are things I want to buy sometimes. So it's like, okay, is this
Yeah.
really worth it? You never really know with some of those if it's like worth the price because they're pricey, you know. But um, and then I'm trying to think. Was there anything else? But no. And then the next morning, Thursday, pretty much, I woke up, got the free breakfast, headed to the airport, and
Yeah.
um, that was about
Cool.
it. Yeah. In Another thing I did was I made sure to load up on Netflix to like download stuff to watch. And it was the first time that I'm looking at my reflection on the phone as I'm downloading, and I'm like, I've become a weeb because like I realized everything I downloaded was an anime to watch, and it's like, what is this? But no, because I finished the Castlevania anime. Ah, I love it. That's one of my favorites. And then yeah, I finished High Score Girl. What I didn't finish it. I finished the first season.
Yeah.
And there was something else I watched, but I think I forgot. But yeah, that was the trip.
That's awesome.
Again, I'm blessed, and again, as we go, like I feel like if people, that are Gundam fans out there that follow me, like you have some like honest like questions or feedback, like yeah, shoot me an email because I could collect this stuff and then give it to Bandai since they're willing to listen to me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's probably the biggest takeaway for me personally is like, a lot of the people in our mutual audiences and a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people, just online in general have all these opinions and all of these thoughts about, what Gundam means to them. And, you can be their ambassador, you can be their voice in so many ways. And so it's very important to kind of foster that relationship and not, you know, d
Yeah,
d don't look a gift horse in the mouth when it comes to, you can you can have your voice heard through Adam, so it's pretty.
yeah. So my main takeaway from all this is like Bandai really cares about Gundam. And
So the next
it's
time you say the devs are lazy.
exactly like, oh man.
No. Well, that's kind of like you and I have always kind of and I hate to throw around the term, but it's like, we come off, I guess, as like shills for Bandai a lot of times.
Yeah,
Now, for the record, neither of us is paid by Bandai, so,
yeah. Even
but,
if they've given me stuff, it's like I'm not gonna say no.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I think that there's a perspective there to be appreciated, and so
Yeah, it's because I'm really into this stuff and I'm really taking lessons I learned by being a Star Wars fan with me. But this time I can actually speak to the people that are in charge of some of that stuff and just like this is the direction it should go. And the other thing too, as I make my final like takeaway from all of this is, while they're trying to have more exposure in the West, they also made it a point that they don't want to dilute the brand. And I
exactly.
appreciate that a lot, actually, because in my head, I'm like, oh, put Gundam Ever, Fortnite, Call of Duty, blah, blah, blah. And then they were kind of saying, like, yeah, we're trying to balance it. Like, we don't want to dilute it, but we also want it to be smart. And I was like, yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, it's awesome. So, well, I think that's it for today's show. I don't know. I had so much to talk about. I don't even know if I talked about it all, but any final words, Steven?
No, I mean, I appreciate all the feedback that you've given us. I'm glad they didn't make you sign any NDAs. Um,
Oh, hey, and Rob said this in the chat and it was so funny. He was like, you can't spell Bandai without NDA. And I was like, that's good.
there you go. But no, I mean, that says hey, it's very to me, it's comforting the idea that Bandai's listening.
Yeah, no,
So
100%.
mind your
And
P's and Q's, everybody.
yeah. And I got to shout out Mech Dio. He's like, no, keep going. And it's like, oh, I wish because it reminds me how much I'll be watching or listening to a podcast while I'm working and they're ending it. I'm like, God, no, just keep going just a little more. I'm almost done. So I get it. No, that's cool. I appreciate that. Anyway, everyone have a good weekend. Steven, thank you for being here on Friday. This was fun. It
Yeah,
looks
thank you
like
for being here. Yeah, thank you for taking time out on Wednesday when you had a 5-hour
oh,
day ahead of you to hang out with Manny and I.
no, I had
So
to. I had to be on with him too. Like it's no, that was great. Yeah, so links in the description for that. And yeah, like I said, reach out to me if you gunexplain@gmail.com. If you guys want to send something, check the Discord because the build and chill tomorrow, and the links to everyone down below. So all have a good weekend.